This is recording 832. The name of this podcast is Listen Next 832. You can find my podcast at speakingtothecia.com. The name of my podcast is Speaking to the CIA. You can also find me at christinastation918.com. So, okay, let me continue here. So this is going to be more decode, and I'm going to have to spend the beginning of this kind of going over and reviewing some different pieces of information that's already in my podcast. And there's a little bit of new information in here. Okay, so the one thing I want to talk about, this is important, okay? It's aggravating to me because this is recording 832 plus the original 15. Everybody that's been following my podcast the entire time knows everything that's going on, but Jean Roberts and her Manson Nicole, who like to scream thank you and F you constantly, okay, they would be the perps, they would be the criminals, they would be the people I'm turning in. Jean Roberts is their leader. Everybody does everything to help Jean Roberts, worship Jean Roberts, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she keeps dragging new people into this to try to hustle them, okay? And so, which causes me to be in a state, which is what she wants, causes me in a state to constantly repeat myself. And I'm not going to continue to do that. But what I need to repeat right now is vital, is very important. And I'm sure I'll be repeating it again in future podcasts, because unless she's arrested, she'll continue pulling her same stunts, which is ridiculous because she's so dang turned in. Anyway, so in the last podcast, when I was talking about Run DMC, okay, so, and I said, let me clarify this, let me correct myself. Okay, she controls my speech rapidly. Okay, and they're really quick with it. I mean, you've got some serious criminals, the leaders of Charles Manson, desperately trying to control my speech when I talk, okay? So I kept saying she injected this in my brain about Run DMC, and I said, no, let me correct myself. Because in my brain, she's like, I don't know how to explain this. She's like, I'm saying this sentence, but as I'm saying this sentence, I'm trying to stop saying this sentence, and I'm realizing that she's controlling my speech, but my sentence keeps going out of my mouth. It's like auto-tune, but she's doing it robotically with artificial intelligence, okay? And then she keeps pushing the flood through, and so I had said it like 2 or 3 times, like, she put this in my brain, she put this in my brain, and then someone finally halted her, and then I was able to speak and say, let me correct myself, a Marine put this in my brain. And then I wanted to continue with what I was saying, but then she's like, okay, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to make you stop and rehash everything and stall everything out. And then I got aggravated and I continued on, because if you're following my podcast, you already know all the everything. Okay, so, but then I was told after the podcast, Jean is up to no good. I know it's irritating. I know you get tired of repeating the same thing over and over again. Jean thinks this is hilarious to do. All she wants to do is force you to repeat yourself. Then she turns around and pretends to be you, and then turns around and hustles the people she's trying to currently con, who she has on. It's a gigantic gimmick. It's a shtick. But anyway, they said it's not going to hurt to rehash or review what you want to say, what you've already said in your podcast, what everybody already knows. And then 100 recordings from now, review and say the same thing again. Unless, hopefully, she's arrested before I get to recording 900, because this will just keep going on and on until she's arrested. So anyway, okay, so Jean, this is what's going on with the AI. I told you she stole artificial intelligence in the 60s, okay? So this is what she did. I told you she tried to, since the 60s, she had a plot and scheme to try to frame the military. She tried to frame them for doing the World Trade Center attack, okay? She tried to originally frame Al-Qaeda, Taliban, the Middle East, people in the Middle East. And these are political groups. These are governments today. For those of you guys who don't follow the government or follow what's going on present day. Okay. So anyway, so she framed them. She used ICE on those pilots. She pre-planned it out before I was born. And then she pre-planned to abuse me as an excuse and as a funder to pay for it, and then use her abuse of me, flip it around, try to blame me for her abuse of me, and then continue to use the same technology that she used to abuse me and she used to ice the pilots with. And she abused me, and you know she abused me both ways, which I've already explained. And use the same technology because she's just that thrifty that she used to commit the assaults to turn around to use it as a marketing scheme and a marketing ploy to act in the second phase or second rollout, the second part of her world dominion terrorism plot, which is what we're in, the silent war. So she makes up all kinds of lies, and then she uses the same technology and commits the same atrocities, the same abuses, and then acts like she has permission and ownership and leadership to do so. And never mind that she's the perp, and she's always been the perp. She abused me when I was little. She did do the World Trade Center attack. She did do the Oklahoma City bombing. And now she wants to use the same technology to act like she's out saving everyone's children. And she's just going to do what she wants, and everybody can just deal with it. And when you confront her, what does she do? The same thing she did before. It worked before. She thinks it's going to work now. She just wants to blame the military, and she just wants to blame everyone around the world and blame every group possible. I mean, I've decoded all of this. She's had it pre-planned, okay? So that's the gimmick, the shtick that she's running, okay? So in this whole process, okay, now, so what she did in trying to frame the Marines, I've decoded tons and tons of it, but now I'm talking about her actual actions. So this technology she made, I'm talking very simply here, okay? She made copies of it, the AI, she made copies of the AI, and she funneled it out, okay, by giving it to people. All right. So she gave it, and she acted as a snake oil salesman is what she did. She didn't say in her rhyme and reason. It's just regular everyday, just like you're just selling a freaking iPhone at the Apple store. Okay. And I don't even mean by what she's saying by the word Apple. I'm saying she's selling technology just to be selling it. Okay? So she sold this stolen technology. She sold it to wealthy people. And here's all the why this is so powerful, and this is, you know, it's powerful. You can do so much with it. It's AI. It's so convenient. You have control of your own now. And people bought it. They used it as communication technology, such as in the military. They bought it in the military. She arranged fraudulent contract deals. They bought it in the military. She got fraudulent contracts out. They use it for communication back and forth in the military. She sold it around the world. Everybody around the world has it. The entire planet, I would say, I was told by someone in the Middle East when I lived in Dallas that most of the planet, and there's 8 billion people in the world, most of the planet is iced. And if you want to know all about ice, robotic technology, you're going to have to go through my whole podcast because I go through everything with it, the 2 different levels of it, how she uses it, how it fits in, how she's using it to control everyone, her continued stealing of it. So she also sold the technology to police. Some, I believe, she said this is under orders from government. And then she's like, we're here, we're super Charlie's Angels, super cool, blonde with big boobs, women, and we're here to freaking rock your socks off. Everybody ready to have fun? That's what she did there too. She posed some of it that way. Then some of it she posed as, this is orders, this is what the government wants. After she hustled the government, and then she acted like the government and then forced the technology into their lines of business. And not everybody in law enforcement had access to the technology. I'm talking about the special who's its and what's its that she sold this to, okay? So anyway, and that doesn't mean that whoever she sold this technology to was using it her way, or even had all the same levels of access, or had all the everything that she has. You can use this a million different ways. Okay? So, anyway, so she poses herself as like some super like Mrs. freaking Microsoft 6'2", freaking blonde fucking D bombshell that's just here to just save everyone, is what she pushes her agenda. And it just makes me so freaking sick. She's nothing but a criminal, a terrorist, a child abuser, a child trafficker, and she has been for 60 years. It's just now she's so rich. She just appears fabulous, but she is the same piece of trash she's always been. But anyway, in her suckering, people bought the technology, etc. And at this point, I imagine everybody's like figured out exactly who and what and how came to be everywhere. And even right now in my brain, I can hear it going, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, she is the snottiest. Her people are the snottiest. Need to be arrested, executed bitches I have ever known in my life. Anyway, so what's going on with this is, so in the middle of this, she got her hands on this. She stole it. I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech again. She stole this in the 60s. So what she did was, I told you, she stalked my dad. She stalked me all my life. She stalked my parents. She stalked their families, my extended family. And it's all in plans for the future for all this. And then she plans to just like do her world dominion plot. And you guys know all the details of that in my podcast. This podcast here, Speaking to CIA.com. I pressed charges against her for it. So anyway, in this, she gave AI posing as FBI or some super insider Navy. I told you she committed stolen valor in the Navy. She retired as a Navy captain. She committed stolen valor. I decoded it. I know she committed stolen valor. She knows she committed stolen valor. The entire Navy, everybody knows she committed stolen valor. But according to her, she's Mrs. Navy. And according to her worshippers, she's Mrs. Navy. Anyway, so she got this technology, and so she gave it out to her immediate people that she was trying to sucker, which included military Marines. That doesn't mean that they were using the technology the way that she was using it. But she wanted to frame them. She was so far ahead of the freaking game that by the time they could even say what she tried to do to them, she'd be so far ahead, she would have them framed and then have them muscled. No, this is just the way that it is. This is what the government wants, because she's got threats out at the government. So this is a big, giant, big, bad thing. Gene Roberts is a terrorist. So there's a lot going on at the top of the United States government that we can't see. And now she's trying to like belittle me and accuse me of being a her. What she's doing in my brain. I mean, she's freaking insane. An insane, lying, psychopath terrorist. Anyway, the only reason she's doing that is because you just called her out on the carpet and she got caught, so she wants to retract back to you being snotty and just pat you on your head and lie about you and then go about her snot ass business like she's getting away with it. Is all she's trying to do. She's just trying to irritate you. Freaking ignore her. She's going to be executed anyway. Nobody's going to tolerate this shit from this occult. And again, she's doing it again. And you guys know what Jean is. What did I just call her? So anyway, in trying to frame them. So, okay, in the beginning of this, she has used ice on me my whole life. Okay, so I started decoding my life 10 years ago. Okay, and for the past 10 years, I have been decoding. And I pressed charges against Jean and provided Tulsa Police Headquarters with about 30 books filled with decoded ciphers, proving that she stalked me all my life, proving that she's a terrorist, proving that she tried to frame military and the Middle East, and she tried to blame me. She tried to blame everybody. She tried to blame punk rock. She tried to blame the cartel. She tried to blame Crips and Blood. She tried to blame freaking everybody. She and her Manson occult did it. And if you want to go immediate extended of her Manson occult and extended Synanon occult did it. Which now includes all of the occults and then everybody else that she tries to just suck into her smorgasbord of occultic activity, trying to get away with this, which is what her agenda is to crash the United States government. Make it look like it's everybody else because she needs the buy-in. Make it look like it's everybody else. Lie to their face about what she's done. And then get their buy-in and trick them into helping. If that doesn't work, force them like she does the military. Like she does the same thing to Hollywood, forcing contracts on people. This is just the way it is. No, it's not just the way it is. So anyway, people got all... I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech again. So anyway, people have access to this technology, okay, all over the place. So anyway, when I was first started decoding and I started realizing I had mental telepathy, which was within the past 10 years of me decoding my life. And at first I was like, who the hell is this? Like I was thinking, and everything's going to be okay. The Secret Service and the CIA is connected to me. And then I realized it wasn't the Secret Service or the CIA. I realized it was criminals, but I didn't know who it was. And then I realized different people were going on and off. And then I got connected to really, really good people. I got connected to the Nation of Islam. I got connected to musicians, artists, Hollywood. I got connected to military. I got connected to Black Lives Matter. I got connected to all kinds of different people. So I always had like a good group of people on, but the criminals were on in the background. And I could see that something was going on where the criminals, which is Gene Roberts, were trying to play a game and trying to force a game on people. And everybody was like, they were trying to like, the good guys were trying to maintain control, and the bad guys, which is Gene Roberts' people, were trying to steal control. And this is all happening in my brain and mental telepathy. And they were trying to steal control by telling lies. And then everybody else was like, no, you're not doing that. You are lying your ass off. No, we're keeping control. And then they would tell me, Christina, don't talk. Don't talk. Because they'd be chewing Gene's ass out. So it was like, they were like trying to keep control of it, and they were wanting to know what was going on, and they were wanting to know, they were gonna put a stop to her is what they were going to do. And I couldn't tell like what was going on, but they were forcing them to participate. And their only way, like they were saying, like in order to be on to communicate with me is you have to do what Gene orders and Gene says and do it Gene's way. And they'd get on, but there would be so many on, they would tell Gene, no, you're lying, stop, leave. So all this would be going on in my brain constantly. And then people would go on and off, on and off, on and off. So anyway, in the middle of this, I would say from the time I was in Slidell all the way to when I lived in Oklahoma City. So I went from Slidell to Dallas to Oklahoma City. Okay, so when I went from Slidell to Dallas to Oklahoma City, throughout this whole time period, I could see in my brain, she would inject stuff into my brain. And I told you what she injects in my brain. I can see in my brain. It's literally like my brain like lights up like a screen, like television or like the movies. Okay, I can see images, I can see movies, I can write in my brain, I can do all this crazy technology. Gene has the capacity to, and I've seen one other person with this capacity, has the capacity to send emails using mental telepathy. That's how advanced this is. And I'm like, well, like people are discussing it like most recently, like what would be, well, if you're using artificial intelligence in a secured manner, the way it should be used, that's amazing technology. Gene has stolen it. And she's always had it stolen. So no matter what anybody's been doing, she's always been undermining it the entire time. So anyway, so I can see anything. So she injects there's all kinds of stuff she injects into my brain. She injects, I'm not gonna sit and explain and go over everything she injects into my brain, but she puts stuff in my brain. Now, when she puts stuff in my brain, she's doing one of two things. She's either bragging about crimes that she got away with And she's letting me know. She literally tells me, like, she communicates in my brain, like I can hear her talking in my brain, and she's telling me that she committed the crime and she'll get away with it. And then she shows me the crime that she committed. Sometimes she shows me crimes that she committed and just brags about it, and then leaves, and then goes off and goes and talks to someone else in AI. Okay, then so there's injects coming from her, and there used to be a way where people who had control still, who don't have control still, could delete the injects that she would inject into my brain. Like, so because when she injects into my brain, it stays stored in some kind of, like, because it's all connected to a computer, it stays stored in some kind of like flash memory. Okay, so they could literally click on my body, like my body shows up on the computer screen, and they literally can click and right click on different parts of my body, and then there's different commands associated with it. So the injects were called auditory input, and they had to right click on my ear on the computer screen, and then there'd be a drop down menu, and it was like, I think it was auditory. No, it was auxiliary. It was auxiliary input, is what they said, or auditory input. And now Jean's trying to tell more lies, which is effing ridiculous. But see, that's why she does this. She pre-plans to tell the lies, which means what they were working with, she programmed out and built out so she could tell a lie to cover it up. Do you see what I'm saying? And then she goes, thank you. So just because she's on telling a lie doesn't mean they get it. That doesn't mean that's not true what I am saying. The programming design, that people weren't like, people were freaked out. That's really how it was programmed. So anyway, now, and it was a major, like, it was like a Windows, I could see the screens in my brain. It was like a Windows style environment. Okay. Anyway, so I got to learn the screen layout and some of the drop downs and stuff in my brain, because people would show me the visuals of the screen that they were working on, and I could see what was going on in my brain. So anyway, okay, so they would have to right click on my ear, and it would be auxiliary input, and then what would show up underneath that would be a bunch of IPs. Everything is operated by IP. Okay, your brain cells are associated with IP addresses, so there'd be a list of IPs, and then the registered names of the IP accounts that are associated with the AI account that basically is the person that injected whatever input into my brain. So then they could right click on the IP, and then they could delete it, and it would remove it from my brain. And sometimes I could see them literally removing stuff from my brain, and sometimes they would go like, it was crazy, like it macros, like whole tons of different stuff. Like I can't, like, I'm not going to spend all my time talking about all this starting my podcast, but like I could see that, like I could see it removing. Sometimes I can't see it removing, sometimes I can, but I can feel it. I can physically feel it in my brain. It's crazy. So anyway, other times during this first part of this time period, people would also inject stuff in my brain. So she was doing auxiliary inputs, then also the good guys would be doing auxiliary inputs, telling me, hey, Jean did this too, showing me stuff that Jean freaking did and Jean got away with. sometimes she would order people and they were supposed to be attacking me and they didn't want to be attacking me. They knew that Gene was lying and they wanted Gene to be arrested, but she would place orders on him. That's how I began calling them henchmen, because they would just get on, okay, we're going to attack Christina. And then Gene would get all pissed. Gene, 3 years ago, got all freaking pissed off about that through fits. And now everybody that's on in my brain is ordered to attack me 24/7. She threw a major freaking fit over it. But I'd call them henchmen because she'd literally pay them to go on and then to attack me in my brain. And they would just be like, I'd say, henchman, stand down. Or I'd say, henchman, fall off. And then they would put themselves on break, and then they would just, would not bother my brain, bother me mentally, and they would go talk to people in different neuron cell locations in my brain. There's all different parts of my brain that light up. So anyway, Gene, so they would put stuff in my brain telling me what she did. Okay, so at this point in time, Run DMC, it was the Marine that put it in my brain, letting me know what Gene did. They were trying to tell on Gene. They were trying to let me know what she did. They know how much I love Run DMC. They know I was going to freak out. That doesn't mean every inject in my brain is coming from a Marine. All the bad stuff, all the lies. The other thing Gene does is she makes up lies. She puts visual, she creates, I call it CGI AI. You know what CGI is, like computer graphic animation. She makes up lies. She literally makes up just totally fake crap and spreads lies with it and shoves that in my brain. And my brain is muted, present day. And she shoves just lies in. Just tons of it. And tons of fake ass CGI. And then she's got someone on also in my brain who I can't hear her talk to. Only she's talking to them. She's got all firewalled off. And she's feeding them freaking lines of shit. And then what she'll do is she'll inject it in my brain, and then she'll pull it out of my brain and be like, this is in Christina's brain, and she'll deliver him a big old line of fucking horse shit. And in my brain, I can literally see and hear this happening, but I just ignore her. I've got a podcast. I just turn her ass in. I mean, you're either one of two kinds of freaking people. Someone comes and approaches you and is filling you full of AI, CGI, freaking lie-ass freaking crap and shoving it down your freaking throat and telling you to freaking get on gang stalking board and do all kinds of nasty, heinous shit. Okay? And she does incite people like that. Okay? She did fool people in the beginning like that. She fooled people like that. But they're not really fooled anymore. So basically at this time, this is 10 years in. So basically at this time, if you're a person that's helping her, you're as sick as she is. Unless you are at risk of losing life or life and limb, like literally, unless you are literally at risk of losing life and limb and you have to help her or you will die or your family members will die, that's the only freaking exception. And I don't accept that. Because somebody else should be looking out for you. Because I turn in Gene. Somebody else should be looking out for you and turning Gene in too. The other thing is, the other kind of people going in would just be people initially getting pulled into it and then morbid curiosity. What the hell's going on? Hell no. No. Out the door, they gone. But anyway, so basically, she wants to silence me and she wants to get away with committing all this crime. And she doesn't want me making reports against her for committing terrorism. So all the injects in my brain, that does it comes from today, 99.9% of the time is coming from Gene Roberts, which means it's all crap. Legitimate stuff that I see that people inject in my brain, I make a podcast, I let everybody know. And then legitimate stuff in my brain that's been injected in my brain, whether it's from her bragging about getting away with committing crimes and showing me the crimes she's committed, or whether it's people showing me crimes that she's committed. I've got podcasts up. I let you know what Gene Roberts has been doing. So since this podcast has lasted, this is going forever, my God. But I've got to get these done this weekend. It's going to be a long weekend. Okay, so this is at 35 minutes. So I'm going to end this podcast here, and then I'll pick up and do another one.